very nice place. So I want to present some, I want to make a presentation about what mathematician can do in a study of some conformal field theory, which is called the Liouville model. This is based on joint works with François David, Colin Guillermou, Antti Kupiainen, and Vincent Vargas. So let me start slowly. And well, you mostly know what the Brownian motion is, and you know that probably that you have several representation of this Brownian motion, several approaches. So you can have a definition like a physicist with what is called a path integral. So you try to sum to define the Brownian motion. You try to sum over all possible paths. This is the space of paths, where a path is a continuous curve from the time to the real line, starting from 0. And you want to define this measure as a summing over all possible paths. This is the uniform measure on paths. And you want to give a weight to each path by its energy. Okay? This is the standard representation of Brownian motion. If you are more probabilistically oriented, if you have a more probabilistically oriented mind, you can define a random walk going up or down with probability 1/2 and take the scale limit of this object. And if you are more into algebra, you can also try to characterize the law of this random path by computing the Laplace exponents. Okay? If you know all the collection of these expectation values for all n, all possible times, and all possible weights alpha, then you know that it characterizes the law of this object. You can reduce the computation of these objects to mostly two things. First, the covariance structure of your Brownian motion. And from this covariance structure, you can recover all these expectation values by applying your favorite, well, say, Wick rules can allow you to recover these things. Well, and what I want to, well, the thing is that for CFT, at least for Liouville and most CFTs, such three approach should be, well, you should have some similar picture for CFT. So, well, in the Liouville model, you have, as I said, the same picture. You can try to construct this CFT by considering a path integral. So this is I will give you more details in the next slide. This is just to open the discussion. This is a path integral over the space of maps phi defined on a Riemann surface. You have also an approach by discretization. So you triangulate surface randomly. So this is a triangulation. You glue triangles along their edge to get something with a topology of a given Riemann surface. And then you pick at random such an object among all possible triangulation with n faces and try to determine the scaling limit of this guy. And you have also another approach by what is called in math representation theory, or in physics it's known under the name of conformal bootstrap. So this is something which, well, Liouville theory in physics is mostly based on this approach. Whereas in math, this approach is not very developed. I mean, the understanding, so there has been some recent work related to the AGT conjecture, which relates 4D Yang-Mills to Liouville. But actually in math, the understanding of Liouville is not that clear, okay? From this perspective here. What I want to discuss in my talk is the connection between this path integral approach and this representation theory. What I won't discuss is this dynamical lattice approach that I think Scott will discuss more in details on Thursday. Okay. So, well, what I want to explain first, the first part of my talk will be to recall some basics to construct the Liouville model by the path integral approach. Then I will explain the DOZZ formula. So the DOZZ formula, it's like for Brownian motion. Recall that for Brownian motion, you have an elementary elements, an elementary piece that allows you to work over all the structure by some computational rules. And the GOZZ formula is the equivalent of this covariance structure in the CFT. Okay? So what I want to discuss then is the proof of the GOZZ formula starting from the path integral. So in physics, there has been, I will discuss what happened in physics. There have been some derivation. Well, first a guess by Dornotto and Zamolodchikov brothers, and then a derivation from the conformal bootstrap approach by Teschner. And I will explain how you can recover this formula from the path integral. And then I will discuss how then you can reconstruct your theory starting from the GOZZ formula. So, I will discuss further during my talk these differences between the path integral and the representation theory. So first, a recap of the construction of the Liouville theory. So what is it? So as I said, it's a path integral. So you are given a Riemann surface. So it's a 2D real manifold. The Riemannian metric G. So G is fixed here. And you want to sum, so you have a space of maps defined on your manifold, taking values into the real line. And you want to formally, you want to give a mathematical definition to a measure. I mean, in the mathematical sense, a measure. You want to measure according to the path, according to this weights here. So here you have to keep in mind that formally this is the uniform measure over all maps. And you want to give some weight to each map, which is given by the Liouville action. So the Liouville action is this object here. Here you have the gradient. You can think of it as the gradient of the map phi in the metric G. Here you have the RG is the Ricci scalar curvature. Maybe I will notations for in my talk. So G is the metric. RG is the scalar curvature. And VG, volume form. Well, this is the equivalent of the Lebesgue measure on your surface. G is some tensor that will give you, all the information you need to reconstruct the geometry on your surface. And if you are not familiar with the definition of Ricci's curvature, it's not essential in my talk. In what I will discuss in further details, I will be on the Riemann sphere, so you can take RG equal 2 on the Riemann sphere. In the end, in the interesting part of my talk, you can take it equal to 2. So in the end, if you are able to construct such a measure, and for instance, assuming that it has a finite mass, you can divide by total mass, then you have a probability measure. So if you have a probability measure, you have a random function phi under this probability measure, and in the end, it gives you formally a random metric on your surface by considering this exponential of phi, where phi is random, times the metric G. Well, given a rigorous sense to this metric here is something I won't discuss. It's not clear from scratch that it exists, but basically this is the idea. Okay? So in this action here, you have several parameters. Mu is a scale parameter. It's not very relevant. You can take it equal to 1 if you want. Gamma is a real parameter. It's, let's say, in my talk, it will be between 0 and 2. And Q, there are several. Well, there are at least two things. Classically, if you take Q, the Q here equals to 2 over gamma, it's a well-known object in geometry. It goes back to Picard and Poincaré, because if you minimize this action, and once you have the minimizer, you plug it in this expression here, you take phi, the minimum, then you'll get a metric with uniformized curvature, okay? Meaning that it is constant over the surface. This is this is the uniformization theorem by Poincaré and Klein, well, that used this functional. Okay. In physics, the value of Q is rather 2 over gamma, so the same classical value plus a correction, which make that this path integral here should exist and is actually conformally invariant in some sense. Okay, so this first appeared in a paper by Polyakov in H1, and now in probability theory, it's well, it's mostly known as this object is well conjecturally the scaling limit of large random planar maps, which will be the content. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, actually, we are working on imaginary values, but from the path integral perspective, it's not clear. I will discuss. There is a paper. This has been investigated by Witten and co-authors recently for imaginary values of gamma, but their conclusion was not clear. It's not clear how, from the path integral, you can construct such an object. From the conformal bootstrap approach, it's clear. So maybe we'll have a talk by Vici here or something like that. But now it's not clear in math how to use imaginary values of gamma. So questions so far? Yes? Yeah. No, actually, these determinants are something that are completely dependent, and these constants are well known. This is not, well, you just mean that here, you will, for the total mass, you will have some metric dependent constants. It will give you. Yeah. No, so, well, the Gauss is the Jacobian you get when you sum over metrics. And you can compute it mathematically. And this is another, if you want to construct quantum curvative, you have several parts, matter, Gauss, Liouville CFT. I will only discuss the construction of the Liouville CFT. Then you can plug Gauss if you want. It's a geometrical quantity that is computed in mass also. You can put the partition function of a matter field if you want and sum over all the moduli space if you want, and you will get something. But I won't discuss it in my talk. It's just about the construction of the Liouville theory. So basically, the idea is that, okay, when you want to construct a measure, you first need to start from scratch from a measure you know. Okay? So if you are on the real line and with your students, you will start from Lebesgue and then add eventually some density that sum up to 1 or positive density and something. Okay? So here, as you are in infinite dimension, well, the Lebesgue measure of all, this Lebesgue measure here over all maps does not exist. And so you need something else. And in infinite dimension, Gaussian measures exist. Okay? You know how to construct the Gaussian measures. So Gaussian measures correspond to this gradient squared term here. So you will start from this gradient squared term. It will give you a Gaussian measure, which is called the Gaussian free field. And then you will interpret the other terms as under this Gaussian measure. So you have a linear term that will perturb the Gaussian measure. It's not too bad. And then you will have this exponential where phi is a Gaussian field. Okay? You have to define these terms. This is what I'm going to do. Okay, so first I will recall how you construct this Gaussian measure. Well, then this linear term is not too bad, and then I will explain in math how you define this exponential of this Gaussian field. The thing that is not obvious here is that under this Gaussian measure, the field phi here is not regular enough. It's not a continuous function, and so you cannot take its exponential as a simple fact. So I will explain this a bit. So how to construct the Gaussian measure? Well, you can start from the definition you know. If you are infinite dimension, if you have a Gaussian integral like that, you know by a change of variable, gives you this relation here. You can interpret here as so you have the total mass of this integral is given by this determinant, and then you take expectation values with respect to a Gaussian, with covariance given by the inverse of the matrix A. So if you are in infinite dimension, here you want to interpret this gradient squared here. So you make an integration by parts, and you see that your operator here should be the Laplacian on your manifold. But the Laplacian has a non-trivial kernel. Okay, the constant functions are in the kernel. So it's not invertible, and so you have to quotient your space. I mean, you have to restrict on these functions that have zero mean. Okay. So if you are on this space, this Laplacian is invertible, and by analogy, you get a definition. Well, here you have some metric-dependent constant, which is the determinant of Laplacian. You can give sense to this constant here, and you take the expectation value of some Gaussian fields, xj, with covariance kernel given by the inverse of Laplacian. So this is the green function. Okay, so you want a Gaussian field with this covariance structure. Sorry. This is f of the field. Yes, thanks. Okay, so you can construct such a Gaussian field. You can do it by diagonalizing the Laplacian. I won't discuss it in detail, but okay, this Gaussian field exists, and it has the covariance structure given by the green function. Recall that the green function is singular on the diagonal, so it's not a fairly defined function. And this field here has a razor to be interpreted as a distribution in the sense of Schwartz. Okay, so now how do you interpret the whole Gaussian measure on the space of all maps? Recall that to define xj, I restricted to maps which have zero mean value over your manifold. Okay, so if you want to integrate over all maps, you have to understand what happens to constant function. Okay, so here, if you have a constant function, this is a one-dimensional space, and your gradient vanishes. Okay, so this is certainly the Lebesgue measure over the constant function, this measure. And to recover the full measure, so you take the sum, this is a convolution of the Lebesgue measure over the values of C, so this is and plus the Gaussian field, which correspond to integration over functions that have a vanishing mean. Okay? So this is the definition of the full measure. This is well known in math and in physics, and just a recap of this definition. So maybe for mathematicians, what is less understood is that this integration over Lebesgue measure corresponds to the fact that here you want to integrate over constant functions. Okay. Questions? Okay. So now you have recall that in your action you want to define the exponential of your Gaussian field. So as I said, x is not a fairly defined function. So, well, the most obvious thing that you may want to do is to say, well, it's only a distribution. I can certainly make a convolution, which a modifying sequence. Okay, so here this is the field that you have regularized with some regularization parameter epsilon. And the important thing is that once you have regularized your field, you have smooth up the log. Okay, you have a regularization parameter here. So how you define this exponential here? So first, you take the exponential of your regularized field and want to see if this measure converge. And actually it does not. If you just take expectation, you will see that this is a Gaussian computation. You will see that it diverges. Expectation diverges as exponential gamma squared over 2 times variance. Variance is log of 1 over epsilon. And so you just tame by expectation value and can show that this limit exists. This limit exists provided that, so it exists for any value of gamma, but the limit could be trivial. Okay? Can show that this limiting measure is non-trivial if gamma is small enough. Okay? So if gamma is less than 2. What is important here is that this limiting measure does not depend on the way you chose your regularization. So it's universal in some sense. And finally, if you compute the total, this is a random measure because your Gaussian field is random. So you have here a random measure. And if you compute the total mass of this random measure, give you a fairly defined random variable, and it is finite almost surely. Okay? So now, if you go back to the construction of the Liouville path integral, so as I said, you have this gradient square which gives you the Gaussian measure. So you will integrate, this comes from this Gaussian measure, you will integrate your, with respect to the Gaussian measure, the exponential of these two terms. So the exponential here will give you the mass term in the exponential here. The exponential of the constant c comes from integration of the constant function in the Gaussian measure. Here, this term comes from the linear term. So why? Because when you have when you integrate over the Gaussian measure, the linear term, so this was Rg phi Vg over the manifold. There is a q in front of it for pi. You replace phi by well, the way you define your Gaussian measure. But here recall that if your surface is uniformized, this means that Rg is constant. So if Rg is constant, here the C contribution will give you the, well, if you integrate curvature on the manifold, Goldsbonnet tells you that it is 8 pi times 1 minus genus. So this comes from the C contribution. And then x as vanishing mean over the manifold. So the integral here against x is 0. Okay, this is why you have this let's say not random term here. Okay, so you have a nice probabilistic definition for your path integral. And actually, the value of q is determined in such a way that the field that you've got here is conformally invariant. There is no other values of q that makes this thing conformally invariant in some sense that I won't explain. Okay, so the only relevant parameter is gamma here. Mu is a scale parameter, it doesn't matter that much. You have a scaling properties of this path integral with respect to mu, so you can take it equal to 1 if you want. And q is fixed by conformal invariance. So, good question. So, if f is 1, you are computing the total mass of this measure. And actually, you can see, so what only matters if you want to compute the total mass is the C contribution. Okay, so if you just so take f equal to 1 and compute this integral, assuming that this random variable is of order 1. Okay, so you get this integral here, exponential of minus 2q 1 minus gm. So genus of the surface minus mu exponential of gamma c. So obviously, when c goes to infinity, you have no integration. The problem is that when c goes to, sorry, there is a c here. The problem is that when c goes to minus infinity, and this, if you want this integral to be convergent, you see that the g naught has to be greater than 2. Okay, so this integral is not finite on the Riemann sphere. It's not finite on tori. And starting from genus 2, it's finite. So, the genus. This is okay. Yes. In the notations, G gamma of mem is the total mass of your chaos measure. Total mass. Okay. Thanks. So. Well, so now the object I will be interested in. So you have a fairly nicely defined measure, and you want to characterize the law of this measure. So you want to compute the Laplace exponents, and the Laplace you want to compute formally quantities like that. here you have Laplace exponent, so for notation, I will keep it on Blackboard. The V alpha of Z is the exponential of the fields evaluated at Z. Okay. So as I said, well, this field phi is not a function, so you cannot evaluate it at some given point. So you have to regularize your stuff and limit, but this can be done. I won't explain. This can be done. It can make sense to the correlation function of your measure. So here, when what I mean by correlation function, the location zk are arbitrary, so you have your manifold. You choose arbitrarily points on your manifold. Like for Brownian motion, you fix arbitrarily sometimes. And you attach at each point some weight, alpha k, which is real. You can discuss complex values if you want, but in my talk, there will be real. Okay. So the first that you can prove that your correlation function exists if and only if you have enough of them. Okay, this is known in physics since Seiberg. Well, first of all, the weights have to be small enough. Actually, well, the idea behind this thing is that it's like for the Lebesgue measure on the surface. If you put a singularity, the Lebesgue measure cannot integrate this singularity if it's too large. Okay? Here, this is the same reason behind this bound. The thing is that now you have this random measure here, which is not Lebesgue, which has other scaling exponents. And you ask for the singularity to be locally not too strong. Okay? And then this is the analog of Gauss-Bonnet theorem. You know that we have a topological constraint on Gauss-Bonnet. And this can be thought of as the analog of Gauss-Bonnet in the probabilistic framework. So just one remark. So here, if you take the case of the Riemann sphere, the genus is equal to 0. So you have a sum of the weights which has to be greater than 2 times q, each of the weight being smaller than q. This gives you a trivial constraint. The number of points you have to put on your surface is greater than 3 on the Riemann sphere. Okay? So this is the first constraint you have on the Riemann sphere. And now, how do you, well, how do you come to the interesting point of, I mean, the interesting object of my talk? So you are now on the Riemann sphere. Okay, no, first a general statement. If you look at this correlation function, just define, well, they have some symmetries that I won't discuss. When you look at the way they depend on the metric. Recall that you are on a given Riemann surface with a metric G. And the dependence in G is completely explicit. Okay? And actually, if you quantify these things, this is exactly the axiomatic of CFT. Okay? So you have a correlation function for some CFT. And what I would be interested in is what happens if you apply a conformal transformation, a global conformal transformation of the sphere to the location points. So you have take a Möbius on the sphere. And if you move the location of points according to this Möbius, you will recover your initial correlation function times some global factor, which depends on the derivative of your Möbius transform at the location of the points. Okay? This is called conformal covariance. And this tells you that if you look at the 3-point function on the sphere, the minimal number of points you have to take on the sphere, you have 3 of them. The points Z1, Z2, Z3 could be anywhere on the sphere. But because of this property, you know that you can, with a Möbius transformation, put these 3 points at your favorite 3 points. And my favorite 3 points are 0, 1, and infinity. Okay? So that the computation of 3-point correlation function only reduced to knowing this quantity here. Okay? And the dose formula is an expression for this 3-point function. Okay? So the dose formula now. So maybe the context. The context of the dose formula. Well, so now you are on the Riemann sphere that you can project stereographically on the complex plane, extended complex plane, with the round metric. This is this metric here, but okay. And for this metric, the Ricci scalar curvature is 2. Okay. So, well, why? Where does this dose formula come from? So it's born in the 80s with a paper by Belavin, Polyakov, and Zamolodchikov, well, which formally described the way an algebraic approach to CFTs. Okay, and in their concept, the idea was to translate the conformal symmetry. I mean, here conformal symmetries. I mean the way theory should depend on the background metric. Okay? They can translate these symmetries into some algebraic structures, like PDEs or something like that. And this gives you constraint on your system. Okay? And once you have this constraint, you realize that you have only two inputs into your theory. Three inputs are the two inputs are the 3-point structure constant, so the expectation values with 3 points. So this is the building block of your theory, and then a way to construct the whole theory starting from this building block. This is called the conformal bootstrap, and you need the input you need is the spectrum. I will discuss the spectrum a bit later. Now I'm on this 3-point structure constant. Well, but in the beginning of their story, BPZ solved this way most of the non-CFTs, whatever that means. But they failed to give an expression for the 3-point structure constant of the Liouville model. Okay? This is a bit later that Dornotto and Zamolodchikov brother gave a guess for this 3-point structure constant. But as I say, it was not clear how to derive this expression. And but it's based on computing residues of this 3-point function and try to guess, according to this value of residues, what should be the correct expression. A bit later, an important work by Teschner in the 90s was based on conformal bootstrap method. So this is the algebraic approach to CFTs. Well, what I mean is that instead of being given a path integral and try to make computation on this path integral, you are given 3-point structure constants and spectrum and try to find constraints based on the algebraic structure of your theory. And these constraints will tell you that the 3-point structure function could be nothing but this expression. And then you have the problem of conformal symmetry that crossing symmetries that I won't discuss here. Okay, but this was the approach by Teschner. So, well, our purpose was to, from the path integral, show that the proposal by Dawes was correct. And this was, so recall that I want to copy this expression here is the 3-point structure constant. Okay, the expectation value. So here it corresponds to the weight you have put at 0, 1, infinity, and this is expectation values of these three operators. And well, we proved that indeed it coincides with the formula given by Dawes. Okay, and this is this crazy expression. Here the function epsilon is the Zamolodchikov function. This is the analytic continuation of this integral here. So I won't discuss the implication of this formula here. Well, this is just you can look at this expression, but nothing to get out of it for my talk. Okay. So let me check the time. Well, basically, yeah. Let me skip the proof. I wanted to give, but actually this is more Teschner's proof. I wanted to explain, but well, let me rather discuss how you can. Now, if now you know the 3-point structure constant, I will just try to explain some ongoing work with co-authors. How to, starting from this structure constant, how you can recover all the correlation functions. Because now you know the value of the 3-point function, but you need the 4-point, 5-point, etc. So let me start with a warm-up. How could you compute this? If you are on the real line, you have two functions, f and g. How can you compute the scalar product here? Well, there are plenty of ways of computing the scalar product, but for what I'm interested in, one way could be the following. You introduce an operator on the real line, which is the Laplacian, standard Laplacian, okay, and you find a complete set of eigenstates. Well, these are explicit in the case of the Laplacian. This is this wave function, if you want. These are the eigenfunction of Laplacian. And then once you have computed these states, you can project, this is the Fourier transform, you can project f on these states here. And once you've done once you have defined the Fourier transform, the scalar product is given by this Plancherel formula. Okay? And the idea behind the conformal bootstrap is more or less this picture here. Okay? So what do you do to compute, say, higher order correlation function, say 4 points? Okay? The thing is that you want to construct an Hilbert space in such a way that this can be interpreted as a scalar product between, say, for instance, these two states here, these two guys here, and these two guys here. Okay? So now you need something to define your Plancherel formula. On this Hilbert space, assume that you are given an operator H that you can, for which you can compute a complete family of eigenstates. Okay? Then you should have something which look like the Plancherel formula. Okay? This is so you just plug the eigenstates and write this Plancherel formula. Okay, so now, but you don't know the values of these guys here. Assume further that you can, if by miracle the eigenstates can reasonably be expressed in terms of the operators you know, the vertex operators, okay? For which you know, for instance, the 3-point correlation function. So if you just replace EP by a vertex operator, a V, this is nothing but those coefficient. Okay, here same story for this guy here. So actually, in a Liouville theory, the spectrum will not be given by the V alpha, not all of them, but for the whole spectrum, you can relate the correlation function of these guys to the vertex. Okay, so in principle, this 4-point function should be given in terms of those coefficients. Well, and the conformal bootstrap is the statement that this miracle occurs. So you can choose an operator in such a way that the eigenstates are precisely the operators V or something which are related to the V. Okay. So in the end, the main input of this formula is this formula here, which is called the conformal bootstrap. So if you compute 4-point correlation functions, so you have a V dependence here, and the results of your algebra tells you that this 4-point function could be expressed in terms of those coefficients, and you integrate over some special functions which are called the conformal blocks, holomorphic functions squared. These conformal blocks are holomorphic functions. Okay, well, the applications of this formula, first is to compute the higher order correlations of the Liouville theory, but it also has application in AGG conjecture. Well, this is a statement that, AGG is a statement that the Nekrasov partition function for Yang-Mills, supersymmetric Yang-Mills with n equal 2 is given, the partition function is precisely this integral here. So if you can prove that this integral is given by the 4-point function of Liouville theory, it completes the connection between these two theories. So in math, there have been, the simplest form of the AGG is proved in math. They identify each term in the Yang-Mills to each term. What remains to be done is to show that this integral here corresponds to the 4-point function in Liouville theory. Okay. So in the Liouville, just want to give you the expression of this operator for the Liouville theory. So how do you construct this Hilbert space? So in physics, you have a general procedure that you can apply. it's a mathematical statement which is given by Osterwalder Schrader. This is when you are given Euclidean path integral, like I give you, how do you construct the quantum mechanics of this path integral? How do you recover the Hilbert space and the operators acting on it? Okay, this is called the reflection positivity. And in math, this is just about using the Markov property of the GFF. Okay? So you can apply this general reconstruction procedure, and it gives you an Hilbert space. So I won't discuss how you prove that, but it gives you an Hilbert space, which is nothing but the tensor product of Lebesgue measure on the real line times an infinite dimensional Gaussian measures. So you just have a sequence of independent Gaussians. And from this independent Gaussian, you construct this field here, which is nothing but the Gaussian free field on the unit circle. Okay? It gives you a field X. Now X is the Gaussian free field on the unit circle. Okay, and what is this operator that you want to diagonalize? This is the sum of this is constant term q squared over 2. So here you have a minus derivation 2 times in the variable c. And then you have an infinite sum of creation and annihilation operators with respect to each variable. So each term in the sum is just an harmonic oscillator. And you take an infinite sum of harmonic oscillator. For, there is an n missing here. Each term pushes the spectrum by n, so there are no degeneracy in the spectrum. So this is a sum of infinite, sum of harmonic oscillators. And then you have a perturbation. So this is just, a sum of Laplacian on each coordinate here, as I probably wrote somewhere. No. Okay, so you can think of it as just a sum of Laplacian plus, a sum of each term in the sum creates an Ornstein-Uhlenbeck process on the corresponding component. But you perturb it with this potential term here, which is the exponential of the GFF on the unit circle. Okay, so this can be seen as an infinite dimensional Schrödinger operator with the potential given by this exponential here. And the main question to prove the conformal bootstrap is to diagonal this operator. So I just wanted to give you the Hamiltonian. Let me just discuss, this is the final slide in my talk, why you could be interested in this path integral conformal bootstrap correspondence. So maybe if you're more, maybe it's for specialists of CFTs. Well, so first argument, as I said, is to give a proof of the simplest form of the AGT, to complete the proof, rather. But second argument, if you're a physicist, is to say that, okay, in the Liouville model, the conformal approach is very powerful. You start from some given 3-point function. You apply the conformal bootstrap, and then you do numerical checks for the crossing symmetries. Okay, but here, what do you do if you don't know the 3-point structure concept? For instance, like in Toda fields. Now, nobody has even a guess in physics about the 3-point structure functions in some models like the Toda fields. Okay, but if you apply the path integral approach, you will get something. You will have an expectation value, the 3-point function, that you can, you can plug it in a computer and give you something. And in the case of the Liouville model, the equation with DOS is very good. Okay, so you can plug these expectation values in a computer and get some values for the 3-point function in Toda fields, for instance. And in the path integral approach, you don't have this problem for the crossing symmetries. You don't have to check whether the theory is consistent. Crossing symmetries is just more or less the idea that if you remember that the 4-point functions are given by an integral, you have got V alpha 1 Z, V alpha 2 0, alpha 4 infinity. And I told you that it's given by integral of something, okay? Integral here over the spectrum, okay? And I tell you that to do so, you have to to gather your guys in two parts. But you can couple this guy, you can pair this guy differently. You can pair this guy with this one with this one, and you will get another integral. And for your theory to be consistent, both integrals have to be the same. And for even in the case of the Liouville model, the only proof we have are numerical. Okay? And in the path integral approach, crossing symmetries are obtained for free. This is by definition associative, or you can commute here the place of the elements. So from even in physics, you can have some interest in looking at this path integral approach. Okay? Thank you for your attention. Yes, these are the primary fields.